And we will finish up with Representative Diane Black of Tennessee, the sponsor of H.R. 866, which we are also considering today, and she's with us on the dais by unanimous consent. So you have 5 minutes, Representative Black, to talk about your bill and or to ask questions of the witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I won't take the whole 5 minutes, but I want to thank you and the members of this committee for allowing me the opportunity to speak here today. And as already been said, I am the proud sponsor of H.R. 866, the Federal Land Freedom Act. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss this urgently needed legislation, as well as the larger need to expand the state's rights, as has already been talked about in this committee, when it comes to the issue of public lands. I truly believe that the resurgence in oil and natural gas development underway in this country is an opportunity for us to achieve the true American energy security. But too often, the heavy-handed government, federal government, particularly under this administration, hinders that process instead of helping us to move it along. So first, the federal government is notorious for tying up the permitting process for energy exploration with bureaucratic red tape. As a matter of fact, in 2014, the states, not the federal government, but the states took about 30 days on average to approve these permits, while the federal government took an average of 228 days. This means that states were churning out permits in a month, while the federal government took over half of a year to put these permits out. Second, states are able to harness the regional expertise to regulate energy exploration in a safe and environmentally conscious manner on private and state lands. This is in stark contrast to the federal government, which imposes a one-size-fits-all regulation across all federal lands from Alaska to Florida. Third, the percentage of federal lands deemed, quote, off-limits from energy development has increased drastically over the last 30 years. Today, the federal government owns 279 million acres of land, but 60% of this land is closed to development because of administrative decisions of executive actions. So it shouldn't be a surprise that last year, the Congressional Research Service released a report showing that from 2010 to 2014, energy exploration on state and private lands increased dramatically, while production decreased on federal lands. And I think one of my colleagues talked about this just as I was coming in. Increases in domestic energy production in recent years has been almost exclusively through the permitting process operated by the states, not the federal government. Imagine if we could harness the effectiveness of our states to replicate this success on federal lands. For these reasons, I have introduced the Federal Land Freedom Act alongside of Senator Jim Inhofe of Oklahoma. And our bill will finally loosen the federal government's chokehold on the energy development on public lands by giving states the full authority to administer the leasing, permitting, and regulatory programs for energy development on federal lands within their borders. Under this legislation, each state has the option to set up their own state-based programs. And importantly, this bill would keep in place protections for our national treasures by exempting national parks, the National Wildlife Refuge System, and the national wilderness areas from development. The fact is, the federal government was never meant to own and control vast amounts of land that it does today, or the energy resources that are underneath of it. It's time for us to return federalism to our national energy discussion and honor the state's 10th Amendment rights to develop and regulate these resources. I'm pleased to tell you that my bill has the support of 23 co-sponsors and the backing of several outside organizations, including the American Energy Alliance, the R Street Institute, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and also the Heritage Foundation, among others. I'm grateful for the committee's interest in this bill on this critical piece of legislation, and I ask for your help in ensuring its timely passage. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me this opportunity to talk about this very important bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.